Do we think when they shot this Mission Impossible, this is when Tom Cruise brought Scientology to Australia?
I think so. He was kind of like the plague of rats, but with Scientology. He actually did travel to Australia on a boat, so that checks out.
That's true, it does. He either got here on a boat or, through a vessel dropping him off and sucking up souls?
They just threw him out of a plane, and he just starts acting. And I was like, all right, here's the film.
Here's a fun fact about Australia. We didn't have religion until Mission Impossible 2.
Believe it or not, Christianity hadn't got to our side, and it still hasn't, but we're pretty much primarily Scientologists now, thanks to Tom Cruise spreading the good word of the Lord. My name's Oscar.
My name is Carl.
And this is Who Would Watch This?
Who Would Watch This?
Welcome to Who Would Watch This, the podcast where we watch a film and then just have a little powwow. That's all we're here for, and then we try and figure out who would watch this.
Today we're talking about Mission Impossible 2, which currently has a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 6.1 on IMDb, and a 2.6 on Letterboxd. Oscar, what is the plot of Mission Impossible 2?
Ooh, IMF agent? What's that?
Impossible Mission Force.
Yes. Impossible Mission Force agent Ethan Hunt is sent to Sydney to find and destroy a genetically modified disease called Chimera.
How topical.
Yeah, I mean, this is, we live in Australia, and there's also a deadly disease going around, so this hit it on the head, pretty much, topical-wise.
So already we know Tom Cruise failed.
Yeah, Tom Cruise...
Failed his mission.
Failed his mission, like, Mission Impossible, it was impossible, he's fucked up, and now he's brought Scientology and the coronavirus to our shores. But hey, that's fine, he's Tom Cruise, you can't not love him.
Let's rewind to a time when we hadn't watched the film and tried to predict who we thought would watch it.
Carl, we're doing Spy Month next week. Have you seen? I think we just talked about this, but we have seen some Mission Impossibles. What's your opinion on the franchise?
Love the franchise. This is the worst one. I've only ever seen this once when I was a kid, and I thought it was incredibly boring. But I have revisited 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Nice.
It's actually quite a consistent franchise.
Yeah.
Surprised it's like, considering how not good this one is, pretty crazy that we're just going to be very successful now.
It's weird the latter ones, like 4, 5, and 6 are like the critical darlings. Like the first ones are a bit like, oh, they're a spy film. Then these new ones are like, no, we're pretty much filling the shoes of James Bond, kind of.
Yeah, they definitely like pivoted into their own thing. I think when Simon Pegg comes in, he brings a certain gravitas.
Is he? No, he hasn't got a Welsh accent. That's Star Trek. But I like he's just the guy he's not the sidekick. He's like the techie weirdo freak, and that's his.
I know he's just somebody that gets along with J.J. Abrams. So J.J. Abrams is like, you're in the film now. It's like, oh, okay, but Welsh.
It's weird he's like the lead in like all of Edgar Wright's films, because he's not a lead man, and this film goes, yeah, you're not a lead man.
Oh, I know, right? The third one very explicitly is like, you're not a lead, stop trying. Like, who knows what Edgar Wright sees in you? He's great. He's great.
He's great in it all. Yeah,
love Simon Pegg. He's great in those Edgar Wright.
He's a big fan of this podcast, so big shout out to him.
He is. I don't want to offend him.
Yeah.
I do like myself some SP, as I like to call them.
Oh yeah, big SP fans and
big SP fans.
Big fans of AW and SP as a
and PPE.
Yeah. Oh, topical. We're actually in a pandemic. Would you believe it? Could you believe it?
Who would have thought? Oscar, who do you think this is going to be for?
I haven't seen this one. I think I need to revisit the 5th one, Rogue Nation, or the 6th one, whichever one. But keen to see if this one is as bad as the one I think is bad. So I'm going to say it's for people that love Tom Cruise in a sequel.
I think this is going to be for fans of landscape shots.
Love that.
I feel like I was really bored by this movie when I was a kid, and there was a lot of landscape shots. So
I like you jotting down notes, like kind of stabbing at the film, like a lot of landscape. I'll use that in 10 years.
I hate the fact that this podcast is just like, I rewatch movies I dislike, and you just bring you're just like, oh, it's the first time I'm watching them and I'll never have to watch them again. I'm like, why have I seen all these before?
You've seen all
It
these
fucking shits
terrible
me.
ones, and you mainly pick these, so this is on you pretty much solely. I'm here for the ride. I'll check it out and then forget it. You'll probably rewatch most of these films, which is quite frankly insane.
I know. Some of them I'm watching for like I don't know what. Oh god, I watched some awful films when I was a kid. I blame my parents. They should have had a firmer grasp on the television.
They should have looked at you and gone, that kid's going to do a podcast. Let's let's stick off these bad films. He'll probably go for a lot in his 20s.
I don't think they would have given me as much love had they known I was going to get into podcasting. I think they would have been like, this one's a failure. We'll have another son.
Carl,
yeah, I think we should just jump into it.
Just jump into it. We're in fucking Sydney. We live there.
What? Where? Well, that's where we live.
Do you think this...
10 out of 10.
10 out
Recommend.
of 10. Immediately nationalistic. Just like, oh god, they've nailed this film. We're here. Does it make you...
Put him on the flag. Put him in the national anthem. Mission Impossible 2 is where it's at.
This is 2000, so I think the Olympics were full swing. It's strange that it's like just a period of like 2 years where just a lot of film. Matrix is set in Australia.
Yeah, so I didn't realize, my mate was explaining that like if when they knew the next one was going to be in like where the next Olympics was, they would try and film before it so the movies could release that same year so that everybody was like in the mood for that location.
Gotcha.
And that was one of the reasons like Skyfall was so big, was everybody was really vibing England.
Of course.
And Skyfall is completely set like in England, and not a lot of the other James Bond films actually, they mostly just take place outside of the UK.
Yeah, they're like,
so that was the first one
that's depressing as shit.
Yeah. It's always raining. Who lives here?
Our protagonist, get out.
So, love you, Sydney. You're looking great in this film. You look stunning. More action films should be set inside of you.
I will say this though, it does immediately take you out of the film because you go, oh, I've got the bus there. It's not like it opens with, we're on Sydney, and it opens to like one of the buildings, and you're like, yuck. It's like a biotech company. You're like, that's not in the CBD. That's not just chilling there.
So many times I was watching this movie, I was just like, that's not a road. You can't put a car there. The amount of times these people just fucking drive wherever they want in Sydney. You can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't drive in Darling Harbour. People are like on the wharf. It's like, okay, we're going to park here. What do you mean you're going to park on the
Where
wharf?
did you get the car here? It's logistically a nightmare. A lot of this podcast is going to be us going, well, you can't do that.
Oh, it is. We're going to be so whiny. The other thing I love is that they were like clearly sponsored by Ford, but 2000s Ford.
Oh, God.
So it's like all the cars people our age are driving now, and you're like, what an awful fucking car. It's like, off a cliff, aren't we cool? It's like, in a Ford? No, you're not cool.
It is the least slick film in the world. Australia is not a cool place. Like, the cars are all so shitty and dingy. Like in America, you got even taxis look cool. Here they look lame as hell. Everyone, you're right. Everyone's driving like a used car in their 20s. I'm pretty sure I saw my car.
Yeah, I saw my car there. I was like, oh god, you don't want to do a chase in that car. It's got awful mileage. Why would you do that? Look at it.
Okay, so we're introduced to one of the buildings in Sydney called Biosite?
Sure, I'll roll with the punches.
Love it.
Biosite.
Yeah, an evil scientist is in there monologuing like, when you got a good guy, you gotta be a bad guy. Injects himself with something. It's like a gun that has something in it. An infectious thing. We will go down that road.
Sure, do we want to talk? Yeah, he puts a virus in himself.
Yeah.
And then clicks a timer and is like, I've got 20 hours. I'm going to hop on the longest flight there is.
Sydney, Australia's famously so far. I think the closest flight you're getting is like Japan. That's still like 10 hours. Most of this, so he's pretty much like racing to get the antidote, right? What is he doing?
I think so. He's decided to just take away the virus. So I think they can't use it.
Yeah.
So I can't track a lot of what's happening in this film. So I've got a lot of broad strokes.
We're going to just
so
this madman just injects himself with injects and jumps on a massive flight. But he's sitting next to Tom Cruise. We're like, oh, Well, this must be part of the plan.
Oh, I know, but then he's like, hey, Dimitri. And you're like, Tom Cruise's name isn't Dimitri.
It's Ethan Hunt.
Who the... It's Ethan Hunty. And then suddenly the plane's like... he gasses everybody. And the... What's it called? Not even like the captain's in on it. Not the co-captain, but the main captain's in on it. And then the co-captain's like, oh, who knows what's happening? And I'm like, what the... Why is the... I feel like if you're going to pull off this plan, just do everybody in the cockpit.
Yeah,
you know?
don't
like,
knock out...
You've got the power.
2 more people. They don't have to even be like... They can just be goons. They don't have to be trained pilots. Anyway, the guy from Rake is in it. I don't know his name, but it's the guy from Rake.
Richard Roxenborough or something like that. I don't know why they've got an Australian to play a South African
with an accent
it's
that's
like...
so defined as a South African accent. Almost a caricature of a South African accent.
I'm like, why can't he just be... If you're basing most of the movie in Australia anyway, just let there be more than one Australian. Don't get an Australian accent. I can only imagine a producer being like, there's too many Aussies in this Australian production. He should be... What accents can you do? What's the closest to an Australian?
South African, can you do that? No, not really. You're doing that then. That's... His name, I think, is... His name is Hugh Stamp. And he says that like in a South African accent. It's like, my name's Huge Stamp. I can't do a South African accent, but...
We're just gonna call him Rake the entire episode, because that's how we know him. So then Tom Cruise pulls off his face. It's not Dimitri. It's a random Scottish man. They take the antidote out of this guy's hands, and then they run and jump out of the plane. The plane blows up. Boom. Well, it's Mission Impossible.
What an intro. Essentially, this introduction to The Dark Knight Rises, but not practical.
Much worse.
Much worse.
It was one of those things where you're just like, oh god, effects from the 2000s don't hold up. Like some of these effects in this, I love that also all of like the spy technology doesn't hold up. It's just like what we can do with an iPhone now. It's like look at us zoom into this pixelated image, and it's like, god, if that was just taken with an iPhone 5, it'd be as crisp as anything. Like
when Tom Cruise gets his mission, he's like given like a Walkman, and someone's like, "That's an SD card." It's like, oh my god, it's hideous.
There's a part where it's like, here, put this little thing in your ear, and then we can talk through it, and it's like bigger than an AirPod. Like, just.
It's concealed. It's like people wear AirPods as a fashion statement. That thing's sticking out like a sore thumb.
I can only imagine it wasn't properly in the plot, but Australia's so behind on technology, they were like, they won't notice. Just do broad strokes, like, a telephone in a shoe. It'll wow them.
Well, you're probably right, because like the only Australian in the film is like a bush basher, like from like the Northern Territory who's never seen electricity. So you probably got it pretty right.
The world's idea of Australia was just Crocodile Dundee, so the idea of just having a regular Australian in this movie was never going to fly.
Oh no, they never show the city. It's either like the harsh desert or a picnic spot.
Oh, and so there's a part where they're like on a boat through the harbour, and you're like, this is nice, and then they're just in the outback, and I'm like, are you trying to make us think that you could get there via boat? Like, is that your idea? That's hours outside of the city. Like,
I don't even know there's a river. There's probably one, but I don't know how you get up there. Real quickly, because this is pretty much the entirety of the film. What's up with the face thing? Because in like the newer ones, they have like a 3D printing machine where they can print faces. Has this just been a staple that they can just do this? Is this in the first one?
Yeah, it's like the Mission Impossible thing is masks. It's the mask movies. They love their masks. I think it was big on the television show that it's adapted from, so it's like always I guess it's just like always a callback.
God, it's pretty lazy because they're just constantly just like pulling out the lifestyles, a perfectly cut face of Tom Cruise like out of like their pocket.
It's like this is the complete opposite of like what the entire franchise turned into, because everything just kind of goes according to plan in this film, whereas they've all turned into like the masks don't work, the microphones don't work, the technology's not working, everything's falling apart. Like I like the, I don't know, the way that they're written now is just like everything constantly turns to shit and they have to get out of it. Whereas everything in this just goes by a breeze. There's not conflict for an hour and a half in this film. Like, it was.
I guess it's the 90s. We just wanted to see some fun car scenes. Tom Cruise is gonna. Tom Cruise like says a plan, and as he's saying it, it's happening, and it's just no flaws.
The one of the other things to note is the main villain in this movie was originally cast to be Wolverine.
Oh, was that he was meant to be Wolverine?
He was meant to be Wolverine. Because this movie ended up running longer than it was supposed to be, they pivoted and had to get Hugh Jackman last minute.
Damn, that is so upsetting, because I still don't know this man's name. That is...
I know, right?
Oh, that's so upsetting. What is his name? We won't learn it. It's fine. he passed on that. That is a shame, because he's done just everything, Hugh Jackman.
Could you imagine the Scottish man in The Greatest Showman?
Grinding on Zac Efron. I think that's the film, right? Alright, fine. So it turns out, so we haven't been introduced to Tom Cruise, and finally we're introduced to Tom Cruise. What is he doing?
Right. I would like to apologize. I, for some reason in my head, always thought he was climbing Uluru in this opening. He's absolutely not. Don't know why I thought that for all of my life. I think he's in like the Grand Canyon or something.
So, in fairness to you, though, it's very red dirt. It's very red, sandy sort of vibes.
And the movie's set in Australia a lot of the time. It's like Red Rock, Australia. Sorry I put them together, you know?
We went on like a 10-minute rant about how Tom Cruise is so insensitive. Turns out he's not. It was just a native Indian burial ground. Much more respectable.
It's true. I would like to apologize to Tom Cruise. I guess it turns out you haven't done anything wrong ever.
No.
Who would have thought?
It's crazy that. We actually looked at his whole record. Squeaky clean.
Never done anything wrong. Turns out he's a bloody sweetheart. Who knew? Not me.
Not many people. Would you believe it?
So he's just free soloing. It looks like he's just fucking doing the stunt.
Yeah. I looked it up. He's got like a wire, but I don't think it's true. I think he just climbed a mountain and John Woo was like, "Oh shit, get a camera, get a helicopter, go."
I assume this is just where they found him when they wanted to pick him up to start shooting. But anyway, so that's the premise. It's just like,
we couldn't find you. We're on holiday. Messages production speaking.
We've got a script for you. Put on these glasses. Like, I love that it looks like he's going to get nuked, and it's just sunglasses. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, he
like
gets
a giant rocket just fucking launches into the side of the rock, and he's like, "Oh, it is a Tuesday." Like,
puts on the sunglasses, gets like a fun, hey, you're doing this mission. You have no choice. Sorry about the holiday. And then he throws the glasses and they explode. It's so cool. Is this where the credits are?
I think so. My God. I'll say it right now. Love Face Off. Love John Woo. He should never be paired with such a boring script. This is an action movie with such little action in it. I don't know why John Woo's directing this.
Yeah, the main plot point is just stocks. That's what it boils down to. You're like, grim. It's essentially like we invested in Pfizer. That's pretty much the whole plot of this film.
It's just dumb. I don't know why you would get John Woo to make this sort of film. There's also this slow motion in it that's like the Shutter slow motion where they've like filmed in a specific frame rate, so it's just shuddering, and I'm like, everything just happens so slowly in this film. All the conversations are slow, everything's slow motion. They're just doing something mundane and it's slow. Like, this movie's so slow for no reason.
Creative choice. Well, it's meant to be like 3.5 hours, and the studio's like, that's too much slow motion. Cut it down to 2 hours.
That could all fit if this movie didn't have 30 minutes of slow motion. Like, there's so much slow motion. I can't understand it. His whole thing was like, I wanted more film in this, and I'm like, well, then sacrifice all your slow fucking motion then, and fit in more plot if you want. Like, oh my God. I can't imagine they cut any of the action. It's probably just more talking. It's more just fucking Thandie Newton flirting with Tom Cruise. Nobody
Oh,
wants
God.
another hour of that.
That's the first 40 minutes. We're gonna go into detail about this.
Yeah,
Essentially,
so why are they are they in Spain or something? Why are they there?
something Spain or something. She's essentially like robbing a very rich Spaniard, and Tom Cruise at the party too, and they start just oh god, they get in the bathtub.
They look at one another,
Mm.
and then somebody dances in frame, and she vanishes. And I was like, Tom, she was right in front of you. You're the worst spy. You lost her, and she was 3 feet away. Like, Tom, come on.
You gotta pick up your game, mate. So then she's in the bathroom, and this is where they keep the safe. So she's cracking the code, and as she's doing that, Tom Cruise is like, "I caught ya. Let's get in the bath and have a chat." So then they just start straddling.
She's like,
each
I like
other.
to be on top, and I'm like, what is happening? It's already so flirty so quickly.
Oh, it's so much so quick. Because also he's like 1'7". I assume she's like taller than him, so the bathtub shots are all half. You never see like a full length.
It's in my head, it's the tallest woman in a film paired with the shortest man. Like, that's the size difference for Tom Cruise. Like,
How tall is
God,
Nicole Kidman? Nicole Kidman's quite tall, I imagine, right?
30 foot.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. She's like 3/5 of a swimming pool.
How tall is Tom Cruise, Carl? Just for context for the listener.
3/5 of an ant. real height differentiation.
I can't believe they got divorced. It's just so upsetting, really.
You think it would have worked?
Ants love trees.
I always watch like somebody tall and somebody short get married, and I'm like, that's not gonna work out.
Sorry, real quickly, while she's on top of him, Tom Cruise is like, you weigh a bit. Like,
he's immediately on that neg game. He's like, hey, you fucking reek. You smell awful. And you weigh a lot. Oh, God. what did you eat 30 tacos? Like, Jesus, what have you oh my God, you're so weighty and smelly.
He just projects his insecurities because he's pretty much like, you weigh exactly 40 kilos. I could imagine. That's a bag of sack I carry when I want to cry.
He's lying in the bathtub and he's like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize there was a sack of potatoes on me. Like,
you got the shape of that too. And the film's pretty much like, there are protagonists and love interests. You're like, ah, nuts.
It's so funny too, because Thandie Newton couldn't look more like slim and fit the entire film. Like, she, like, to the point where you're like, somebody needs to feed her. That's how, and her introduction
and it's
is
just
still
Tom
like,
Cruise
oh,
on top of her in a Tom Cruise on top of her in a bathtub, like, you've gained weight. Just him grabbing her. It's so upsetting.
This is easily one of the worst written female characters I've seen in a film in a long time.
Pretty much, they fuck immediately.
I don't know what happens after the sequence. They're just flirting while driving on a main road, like all of a sudden.
They fuck in a they're in like a bed, and she's like, I'm going for a drive, and then they both are driving on like a highway. And essentially just like smashing into each other like, I like you, bang. Smashing into each other like, I've got a thing for you. It's deadly. She almost dies. What is this?
I've written, their cars fuck, I think. Romance music swells and he almost kills her.
It climaxes with her getting run off the road, and then he grabs her like, was that hot for you?
And already I'm like, God, this movie couldn't get more wild. And they're just like, hey, Anthony Hopkins is here. I'm like, what is happening?
It's the strangest thing. I assume we're in Italy, but it's like, it opens with like crosses burning and a bunch of people marching and stuff, and Anthony Hopkins just in a villa down the road. He's like, that's really weird, isn't it? A lot of weird stuff happening up there. Just ignore that, Tom. Let's chat over here about your mission. What was that? A lot of crosses getting burned.
I don't know all the jumps in logic they make, because after this scene they're in Australia, and I think is like Thandie Newton like supposed to like romance the villain, or does she already know him?
She was dating the villain. What's the villain's name? I've forgotten. Sean. The villain's name is Sean. And just
scary.
also, Thandie Newton's name is Naya, like Nyan.
Right. Whoever wrote this script shouldn't be allowed to name kids. I can only imagine their kids are named like Gravel and Steel or something like that. Like, stop
I was
it.
into
Don't
construction
name your
back
kid-
when I called them. I feel silly. It was an industrial boom. But yeah, so she used to date Sean, and they broke up 6 months ago. And Tom Cruise's plan is like, right, you are a woman, so your only use is that you're an object for him, and you're gonna go back and ask for his forgiveness. And she's like, yep, I had nothing else on my plate, so sure, why not?
So they go to a house that definitely doesn't exist in Australia. It looks like styrofoam. It's down underneath like what's it called? The zoo. A stunning location, but no way there's a house there.
Yeah, it's like this modern, like, brutalist sort of thing. You're just like pretty sure people have like pissed in that bush. So I don't think it's.
They nailed the sandstone though. They nailed that.
Oh yeah, they did nail that. That was probably there. There's so much sandstone around that area.
And they're surveilling from the outback. I don't know why. They're like, okay, we've got ourselves a little hut. Like,
where would this even be? How far do you have to go out to get to the desert?
This was in Broken Hill.
Stop it! It's like what, 20 hours drive? That's the whole time you need for the entire thing to like infect you. That seems like a crazy risk.
If anything happens to her, they can't help. They've completely removed themselves from the situation. They're so far removed from being able to help. Why aren't they just surveilling in Sydney?
Because it's like said like, oh, they're in like a, they're not going to see them. This is a shack that's so far away.
It wouldn't even have Wi-Fi in 2000.
No, I'm pretty angry because this film relies heavily on the internet, and quite frankly, the internet out there would be so horrid. So horrid.
So
they
right
have
now,
a live...
We only just got the internet, and they put it through fucking copper wires, and it's terrible. So...
How does that even work? I mean, I'm not a scientist or anything, but how does the internet go through copper wires? I don't know. I get the telephone, sort of.
What's the point of copper? I'll say it right now.
Explain that, scientist.
I've got some here. What do I do with it?
God, you have a large lump of copper. Where'd you get that?
It's a lot of copper. Look, it unravels.
What? Don't. That's the internet on there.
Oh no, that's all of Australia's. Throw it away. So anyway, I think they the villain like immediately falls in love with Thandie Newton. Yeah, like
he's pretty much like gone out on a limb. The rake guy's like, I don't know, we can trust her. He grabs his finger. It's like, I'm gonna cut. How dare you? Get some scissors. I'm gonna cut you. How dare you not trust this person who's just turned up? He could be a loyal servant for 20 years. We don't know, but yeah, almost kills him.
I love it because this is one of the least villainous villains ever. It's like we've just met him, and he's like, I swear to God, I'll cut off the tip of one of your fingers. Like,
I'll give you a bad nail
couldn't
job.
Be higher. You're so scary. Not the tip of a finger. Heaven forbid. Like,
and he's begging in like South Africa's like, please, please. I wish I could do a South African accent. I'd pull that out so often.
Anyway, so they all decide to go to like the Randwick races, which is just like a wild race course to go to.
Every like drunk dickhead in a Connor's suit, they're like, get him out of here. That's the majority of the races. They're like, all right, no, we're gonna get some high class people in here. And they looked around and went, oh no, there's no one here.
I love it too because one of the things is just like the villain gives Thandie Newton like $1,000 to go and place a bet, and she just looks so overwhelmed and confused at the racetrack that I was like, I feel that. I never understand how betting works at the racetrack. It's terrifying.
It's freaky, isn't it? I will say this, how fun was it to see our money in a film? That felt fun.
So nice. She's like, here, have a 50. And I was like, look how colourful it is. That's our money.
I will say this, very Australian for the villain to put $1,000 on the horses. They really nailed Australian culture.
Absolutely. It should have just been they were at like 2 up or something like that. $1,000 on the head. Anybody? Anybody want this?
Can you imagine this set in a Kino like lounge? The stakes couldn't be higher. I bet all on odds. Please, God.
Nothing's happened in this film, really. It's 40 minutes in. So far, you've hired John Woo to record a racetrack. Idiots.
Yeah. We should also explain the team, because Tom Cruise has assembled just 2 dudes. He's got Lufa, who I guess is like he's all in all the Mission Impossibles. Not sure
Yeah,
when
he's
he
in
popped
all
up.
of them. Oh, he's not really in the fourth one.
Okay,
I think he steps out for the fourth one, if I
he's
recall.
kind of
The movies,
what
the
Simon
movies are
Pegg.
smart. Yeah, the movies are smart to be more of like a group dynamic in the later ones instead of being like it's just Tom Cruise
and some dude.
I thought that was a smart move.
100%. Because then you got him, and you got like the wacky Australian who can fly a helicopter. Is that his power?
Oh, I know, and useless for the flying the helicopter. They're like it's a stealth mission, and I'm like, won't people see a fucking helicopter over a building? Like
the helicopter.
How did Tom
climbing
Cruise
up a
get
bridge?
in? They're like, oh, what should we do? Should we wait for Tom? And like Ving Rhames is just hover above the building. Like the villains walk in, like they would have seen the helicopter.
Such a loud noise. I think they're like, we're gonna what build? Because they're like we'll get to it, but the security is like a building. They're like, we only have 40 seconds. No way a helicopter hovering above your building does not arouse suspicion.
And security is just like blinds. Those ones with like the little beads when you close and open them. It's just that. Somebody being like, alright, I'm gonna close them. Oh no, they went the wrong way. Close it the
It's
other
a
way.
security guard just down the bottom with a real... I've got them right here, the beads.
Oh wait, no, so before this we actually get introduced to Brendan Gleeson, who randomly pops up in the film. And one of the things I thought was hilarious that they did to him was give him a newspaper that was just like, Brendan Gleeson dies of virus. So would you hire a graphic designer to put this little fun little, almost like a map live, like, in the cards?
What a way to go. Is this? Like page 7, like if he kept flipping over, the crossword was also like, you die today. It was very detailed, but he didn't really get much time. Who printed
the graphic
this?
designer being like, I put a lot of effort into the 35-page document there, and he only read the front cover. Oh god, I had to Photoshop so many images. It's 2000. Do you realize how awful Adobe is right now? Terrible. You can't work it.
I drew a Garfield cartoon of him dying in a limo. I had to pay the rights to that. You wouldn't believe the money Garfield has in the newspaper. The monopoly that cat has on the newspaper industry is disgusting.
Spoilers. Odie doesn't get along with him. It's a great 3-panel, and you didn't even fucking look at it. Honestly.
Spoilers for a Garfield comic. What the fuck, man? I was up to panel 2. Give me a second.
I love the idea. I just want to see a whole movie about somebody weaving together a fantastic fucking fake newspaper for one element of a spy thing.
Was this guy in the helicopter doing that? Like, is that his skill?
Sketching it, just like in between. He's like, well, if you just want me to hover, I'm going to go back to editing my passion project, which is Brendan Gleeson's newspaper.
Real quickly, the reason that Tom Cruise... what an elaborate heist. Wait, is Tom Cruise the one that does this, or is this the villain?
It's Tom Cruise does this heist to jump into building.
No. Brendan Gleeson limo thing. Should we set up like what that
Oh,
is?
yeah. No, Tom Cruise does that. That's their team.
What an elaborate setup. So they essentially drug him, they put him in a hospital bed, they put on the mad scientist's head, like, hey, Brendan Gleeson, give us all the information. You're traumatized now. And then they wake him up in the limo, and they drop him off to the house.
I missed that, what's it called? That simultaneously in this scene, so Tom Cruise is dressed up as the scientist from the beginning, and at the same time, the villain is dressed up as Tom Cruise talking to Thandie Newton. So, I was writing notes, looked away, maybe wasn't really that invested in the scene, so might have been flipping through my phone.
Stop it. How could you?
I look back up, it's Tom Cruise removing his face, and it's the villain, and he's crying. So I thought that it was the Doctor was Tom Cruise, like all of the characters were just him, and that was a reveal. And then he was crying over the fact that Brendan Gleeson was fake dying, and I was super confused. Like, really had no traction on the scene. really clouded what I thought was happening the rest of the movie.
And I don't know about you, but I have a hard and fast rule: never rewinding these things. I'm plowing on. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, never look back. Never look back. It's what Wikipedia's for. Our podcast,
Oh,
reading
yeah.
plot summaries.
Essentially, we've kind of watched a film, reminded ourselves on Wikipedia what's going on, and then we're relaying it back to you. Truly, I think we deserve more listeners.
Anyway, so then Tom Cruise infiltrates this building because he's going to go and get rid of all of the viruses.
Yes.
So the issue is that the villains only have the antidote. They don't have the virus.
Yes.
So the villains need to get the virus. Tom Cruise goes to delete them all. It's just him very slowly walking around quietly, being like, oh, that one's gone. I'll go to the next glove.
I'll go to the next one. There we go. And that's destroyed. The villains... But the funny thing is, though, the villain is, like, saying while Tom Cruise is doing all his stuff, what he's going to do. Like, he's like, Tom Cruise would never kill anybody. I know this. He won't go down the bottom. He'll go through the top. I'll say right now, how many people does Tom Cruise kill in this film? Later on, he, like, knocks out a guard and just rolls him down a hill to his death.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Like, he's like, why don't you roll on the river? Like, rolls him into the river.
This
like...
jagged sandstone, like, oh god, it's gorgeous.
So in this scene, Thandie Newton then turns up to basically de-escalate the scene, injects the virus into herself, which is like a piece of conflict that really should have come at like the end of the first act, not 30 minutes before the end. Because now you're like, shit, there's only 20 hours for them to get the antidote. So now we have a ticking time clock. And Tom Cruise immediately clicks his watch and is like, there's 20 hours. The clock never comes into it again. There's absolutely no rush the rest of the movie. There's no rush to fix her. Nobody cares. He must look at that watch and be like, why did I click this again? Is there something in the oven back at that hotel? Like,
I love that John Woo looked at the clock and it had been like 48 hours. He's like, it's fine. We'll forget it. Because it's like the next day's daytime. So they've wasted about 10 hours just having a sleep.
I know, Tom Cruise is like, oh my god, it's in you. I'm gonna jump out the side of this building and we'll try and reconnect in 24 hours. She's like, that's 4 hours after I die. And he's like, oh shit, alright, let's try and work this out mathematically then.
Alright.
I wake up at 11 tomorrow because I need to sleep in. That leaves us.
I've got to get brunch. You can't miss that again. You got to get a Sydney brunch. And they finished
My
by
therapist
1.
told me I need me time.
Yeah.
Alright? I get there's you going on with your 20-hour thing, but I need personal time. I just jumped through a building.
A lot of stress with that. You need to de-stress. And you can't rush these things.
One of the main plot points in Hobbs and Shaw is that Vanessa Kirby injects herself with a virus that is going to kill her in 72 hours. And then all through the movie, they do like 100 hours worth of traveling around the globe. It's like, oh, I guess we just took this 30-hour flight like to Samoa from Canada or something. And it's just like, where's the ticking time clock? Like,
constantly, they're just changing the iPhone settings, just like, give us a couple more hours.
Yeah, it's like, oh, if we land here, we gain time. And it's like, that's not how it works when there's a timer. Like...
Could you imagine? No, we changed time zones. We've actually got 98 hours. We'll take a break.
We went back and it's the 27th again. No, that's not how it works.
Hobbs and Shaw. Especially in this
Hobbs
film,
and
because it's
Shaw.
just set in Australia and the CBD. It's about a 20-minute...
I don't understand. Everybody should be jet lagged for a majority of this mission. Just being like, oh god. I'm acclimatizing. All the food's weird. Where's the tipping system? That's thrown me. Like, one of the things during this action sequence that really got me excited was a Telstra phone box blows up.
Stop it, does it actually?
Yeah. It's like, the guy in the car gets caught on a hook. And you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? He's been bested by a hook. And then the car blows up and it hits a Telstra sign. And you're like, yay, Telstra.
Woohoo, win.
He pretty much goes straight to this little island.
Yeah, this is like a little secret island, like a military base thing. It's quite
It's
cute.
Sydney's Little Italy.
Yeah, pretty much. This is where we keep all the Italians.
Underground, up in or down near, I don't know where this is, near the airport, I think.
It feels like near the airport.
It's one of my favorite things is they're just like they need to get to the northern beaches from the airport, and they're like, "We've got 10 minutes," and I'm like, "Mate, she's gonna die. You're so far away from her."
Even in no traffic, that's a 40-minute drive. Goddamn, Tom
You're gonna
Cruise.
get caught at the Spit Bridge. There's no way going around it. She's killed herself. All right, by that time, she's killed herself.
That's on you guys. Also, real quickly, she's committed to killing herself. That she pretty much says that. She pretty much.
I don't fucking get this. Go on, sorry.
In the facility, as Tom Cruise clicks his 20-hour button, she pretty much goes, "By the way, at 18 hours, I'll probably just jump off a building."
Why didn't she just jump out of the building after him then?
Why didn't they use?
The other thing is, when he jumps out of that building, the villains are like, he's gotten away, we can't shoot him now. And I'm like, he's slowly drifting away. Like, he's never been more vulnerable. He's got nothing to protect himself. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Just shoot Tom Cruise out of the sky.
You've happily stolen, like, genetically modified disease. You can probably spray a couple of bullets into the CBD. It's not... But yeah, we're pretty much stuck on this little island now. Brendan Gleeson...
Yeah.
is the owner of the biotech company. So he's meeting with Sean. Can't believe that's the villain's name, but Sean's there. So is Rake. And they're just... And pretty much his plan is, right, we've got Thandie Newton. She's got the disease. We're going to throw her into the middle of Sydney, infect a bunch of people, and then we're going to, in like 2 weeks' time, give everyone the cure. Now, we don't want £37 million. We want stock options. I don't know about you, Carl, but I immediately switched off when stock options started being a plot point.
I've written, the villain got more villainous, he now wants stock options. If you don't give them to him, he'll cut off your pinky tip. Like,
I swear to God, I'll go for the big toe,
no threat. It's like, I swear to God, I'll go into the employees' break room and I will eat some of somebody's lunch in the fridge. I don't care what it is.
Just a nibble. Just a nibble on the side.
Enough for you to go, I think somebody's eaten it. I'll be careful and throw this out. He's like, boy, will that be an inconvenience for you? So you better give me the stock options.
It's be worth $52 trillion. Do you not think anyone would be a bit suspicious if someone bought, I don't know, $37 million worth of stocks the day before an outbreak? You'd be a bit like, hang on, Do you
think people would be suspicious if they were like, oh god, a deadly virus is here. 14 days later, we've got the perfect cure. It only took us 2 years for the vaccine for the coronavirus, but these guys have it in 2 weeks. They also don't anticipate a lot of people not fucking wanting it, apparently.
We're getting topical. Here's the thing. This one is like, pretty much you have 20 hours and you're dead. I'm going to say it right now. Brendan Gleeson's like, he asked him, can you guys roll out the vaccines? Like, yep, can do. Famously, not many people can. I think he's overestimated how fast the disease is going to spread.
Tom Cruise is now infiltrating this island. All he seems to do is, like, knee people in the chest.
God, he keeps flipping and jumping and doing scissor kicks on everybody.
I'm like, this is a man that just wants to climb. Why won't you let him climb, Anthony Hopkins?
Give him the Burj Khalifa in 2 movies. Do it!
So one of the things I love in this sequence is Tom Cruise, I guess, happens to have a face mask of Rake.
Yeah, I assume it's like a condom. He like is lubed up or ready to go. He pulls out of his pocket and just slips it on.
I love it because it means that in the middle of his infiltration, he's had to strip Rake naked, and switch clothes, which I think is hilarious. And he committed to the underwear too. You know he committed.
Oh yeah,
like, he's got a.
And Rake had a bit. Oh god, and Tom Cruise does not wipe well. We know that very vividly. We've got the pictures to prove it.
So then the villain just shoots Rake because he thinks it's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is like, cool, I'm going to get on a motorbike. I don't know why they're here, but I'm going to hop on a motorbike.
He steals the laptop, which is doing the bank transfer, is that right?
Yeah, he steals the laptop. And then Thandie Newton's just walking around. She's walking around North Head,
which is so funny because the villain's like, I know what we'll do. We'll drop her into the most populated area of Sydney. Let's put her on the top of a cliff, 50 kilometers away from anybody, and see what happens.
It sounds like she just what's it called? Like walked free.
Yeah, I think she just got. They're like, you try and infect some people, could you? Thank you.
Like, it was one of the things that's just kind of missing from the plot is I don't know why she's just in North Head. They're like, what we're going to do is we're going to drop her in the city. And it's like, do you know where she is now? Because she couldn't be further away. Like,
for a populated area. I think this film is taking liberties. I'm sure there's a lot of films we watch that, like, people
all the time, I bet.
Yeah, that go, oh, that's not there, that's not there. Like, I'm sure a lot of people watch Once Upon a Time went, yeah, the Manson family wasn't up there. They were down here. It'd take you 6 hours, but we just don't know. This is our win. This is our little win. Don't know why I picked that film either.
I'm excited by the fact that a lot of this is shot in Australia. What annoys me is the views, like, they've only shot in the middle of the day when all colours are washed out. And I'm like, oh, we have such pretty sunrises and sunsets. Why is this end battle at the middle of the day in North Head on a beach?
Oh, how cheap does this look? Sean and Ethan Hunt fight for about 20 minutes. They
bike joust.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I thought this would be really cool because they have the face mask thing. I thought it'd be fun if Tom Cruise was fighting himself. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I think like having that element in the film would be fun. But that's just kind of Gemini Man. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would have liked this reveal that it turns out Tom Cruise was Thandie Newton all along. It's like, it removes the mask and her breasts, like, deflate. And he's like, it was me in the helicopter. I'm in North Head. Like,
I've got the disease and I'm going to make a lot of money doing this. I'm going to short biosec.
Short. This is such, like, a lame... It's fun to see John Woo do some action sequences, because he hasn't done anything most of the film.
Yeah.
And these are pretty cartoonish, but the actual end fight is so anticlimactic and dull.
Oh.
And it's just like, they're like, are we going to get to her in time? Yes, we actually got there early. It's like, who wrote this suspense? Like...
The writer, like, listen, I've never seen a film. Maybe this could be a winner. Maybe this is what the audience wants to see. Good time management.
I would have loved it if they show the clock again. They're like, and there was 11 hours to spare. We didn't even need to give ourselves 20 hours on this virus.
Because isn't like the thing of Mission Impossible that they always like do at the last second? But
yeah, it's the fun of it. There's not even a ticking clock in this movie. Like I said, they set one up and go, nah, no point recalling it. Who cares? Like,
Tom Cruise throws his watch away, like, won't be needing that. We've got plenty of time.
Sets the timer and is like, don't need this anymore. Like, I love the idea that they misinterpreted the timer, and it turns out she'd been like asymptomatic for like an hour, so she's already infected a lot of Sydney, and they're like, a job well done. And it's like, nope,
no,
it's already out there.
And I'll be honest, they actually kind of fucked up because that business is probably going to go bankrupt now because it lost all its money. So that disease is getting out there.
It then just ends at like a party that with a lot of balloons. This doesn't happen.
Someone, I hate this. Someone's throwing an American football in the background. Like, why not just get an AFL ball? Who did this set, like, for the extras this? It's a bunch of, like, it looks like that painting with the dots. Like, right? Like at the picnic?
It does, actually. Does the either Australia paid for them to shoot this here? Or, like, because it feels like it ends literally on, like, a rising shot of the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, and it might as well just end with Hamish Blake being like, vacation in Australia.
You might like it. Tom Cruise was here for a bit.
All right, Oscar, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I do need to revisit the Mission Impossibles that I gave a bad review to. I remember I gave the 6th one a bad review, because this is boring and it's upsetting. Because John Woo, as we've seen like in Face Off, is lots of fun. He's not given much. It kind of feels, it's strange because it's like an uninspired sequel. But then it's weird that the franchise has then, like, elevated itself. So it's just kind of this, like, black sheep of the franchise. Like, ugh.
Yeah, like, I watched this with my roommate, and he just absolutely hated it. And I was like, do you want to see the tone shift between what came after this? And I showed him just like the opening sequence of Mission Impossible 3, which is such a it's like Philip Seymour Hoffman with a gun to a woman's head. She's covered in sweat, soot, and blood. Tom Cruise is strapped to a chair and crying, and and Philip Seymour Hoffman's just counting down, being like, "I'm going to murder her on the count of 10 if you can't give me what I want." And the scene ends with Ethan Hunt being able to get out of the chains, and the woman getting shot, and it just cuts, and it's like 3 days earlier or something, and you're like, much more interesting.
Yeah.
He couldn't even get out of the fucking scenario you gave him in the opening sequence. Like,
the stakes are so much higher.
Immediately, within minutes of the movie, it takes like 2 hours for Thandie Newton to be like, the virus is in me, and Tom Cruise being like, does that matter? And her going, no,
you've got time. Have a croissant. Just chill, man, you know? Enjoy the Sydney. It'd be funny if he had like 5 hours just going to Sydney cider attractions, just like, wow, I'm at Luna Park. Wouldn't mind going here for a holiday.
I love that. If that was a plot where it's like, we're going to drop her off at the busiest place in Sydney, Luna Park.
Wow, kids get in for free? That's fantastic. How much is admission? Oh, $40 on weekdays. What a bargain. You should come down here.
And they're like, why has nobody caught the virus? And they're like, nobody's been to Luna Park in like a year, man. It's too pricey.
It is expensive. Unless Luna Park wants to sponsor us, in which case it's a family fun.
In which case, I love Luna Park. The face at the front is not terrifying at all.
I'll say this, I think it's like an absolute evil marketing tool to be like, kids get it. It's free admission, which is so shitty. Like, you can walk around.
Is that a thing they do?
That's the thing. Like, you don't actually have, like, so all the rides you have to like scan in, but it's free to walk around it.
Oh, right.
So it's just like a zoo for fun, and you're not allowed to ride the fun.
All right, Oscar. Who would watch Mission Impossible 2?
People who live in Sydney and want to go. There's that. There's that. Oh, money, and that's pretty much it, I think.
I'm the exact same. I was like, you know what? The only people that would enjoy this movie is if you live in Sydney, because we never get put in films as primary locations. It's fun to see, and you're always like, I've walked there. I've used the urinal there.
Yeah. I've thrown up near that bush that Tom Cruise killed a man. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's really just only for Sydneyers. That's it. It's not even for people who are in Australia. It's just people within the city.
Yeah, which is good that our podcast base is Sydney based, because you guys are going to love this episode and the movie. Maybe just the movie.
Oscar, you got a palate cleanser this week?
I do. All right, Carl. I watched the 1977 Japanese film House with the cool like cat poster, and it's really fun. It's really fun. It's like the second film I've watched at the last month that I'm just like, oh, I want to watch this in like a movie theater. Have you seen it?
Yeah, that's so funny. I watched it last week.
Stop it, really? Was that your palate cleanser?
No, it wasn't going to be my palate cleanser. But yeah, no, I also watched House last week. How funny.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's like 6 Japanese friends go to like an aunt's house, and the house is pretty spooky, and the visuals are a lot of fun. That's, I think.
The editing is wild.
Yeah. And it feels, I don't know about you, but that felt like so modern. It did not feel like 1977.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt way more modern than 1977. It was also like a movie that I think you could watch without the subtitles.
Yeah,
and, like,
I kind of
still have a great time.
Yeah, I think so, 100%.
I found it like hard to give it a rating because I was like, I don't know how many people would actually I think it's just for like film people,
Definitely,
and nobody else. I don't know who else would like enjoy this.
I feel like,
and even I was just kind of like, I don't get what's. It's like I only began to groove with it like when they got to the aunt's house, which takes like 25 minutes. It's like a lot of just walking around and talking about like her dad, and you're just like, is this a dream or is it odd set design? And the answer is, don't know. Like,
flip up a coin. It's one of those things. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's very. I want to watch it again, but yeah, I feel like you'd be furious if you showed this to someone that wasn't. I wasn't expecting it, so
Yeah.
I kind of want to rewatch it, but yeah, it's a rogue one. I get not being able to rate it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. But also, yeah, same as me, where I was just like, it ended and I was like, very interested to watch this again.
Definitely.
Also, the, like, effects in-house are pretty funky.
Yeah, I think they're really cool, right? It's like...
Some of them I was like, oh, how do you even do that in 1977?
It's like fun,
There's part where they,
practical...
like, get her head out of the well and stuff, and I was like, that looks really good.
It's funny, because, like, it looks... like, there's parts that, like, that looks shit, but that's the point. It's, like, it's very purposeful, purposely weird. I like it. It's fun. I get why people would, like, be like, that's my favorite film.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% also get people being like, wow, it's easily one of the worst films I've ever seen.
That's always what I think David Lynch films are going to be. And I've only watched like 2, but I always think that's what's going to be. It's never that.
It's never as kooky as House.
Never as kooky. No, it's crazy.
All right, Oscar, what are we reviewing next week?
Next week, it's Halloween month. Scary movies.
What? Spooky?
That's right. We will be reviewing. We're kicking off the month with Slender Man, the scariest.
Wow, what?
The scariest.
Terrifying.
Yeah, the scariest game in 2009. 9 years later, we've got a film that came out, and we're gonna watch it.
Yes, a movie that proves that you can be too late to the party
and still make a profit. And offend everybody. And launch Joey King's career.
This movie's carrying a lot of baggage. If it does all those things.
Maybe it's a great film.
Alright, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.